Napoleon Bonaparte. Good general, big ego, short man. The man that took over half of Europe before getting exiled. Twice. Historians often regard Napoleon as a military genius and one of the greatest generals of all time. But was he really a strategic genius, or was he just lucky? Stick around because the answer might surprise you. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are uncovering one of the most controversial topics I could possibly think of. Was Napoleon Bonaparte a military genius, or is he incredibly overrated? We're going to break it down by looking at his early rise, his battlefield strategies, his blunders, and of course his ultimate downfall. And trust me, you don't want to miss the part where he ran out of luck spectacularly. If you love history, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, despite his infamy, Napoleon was actually born into relative obscurity on the small island of Corsica. Wait, Corsica? But he wasn't even French. During the French Revolution, Napoleon saw an opportunity amongst the chaos. During the siege of Toulon in 1793, Napoleon took charge of the artillery. Napoleon defeated the royalists and was quickly promoted to general. Now, this does seem pretty lucky, as Napoleon might have just been at the right place at the right time. But he was a good artillery commander, you can't take that away from him. I've always found that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So, what about Napoleon's strategy? Napoleon's military tactics were nothing short of revolutionary. Get it? Revolutionary? He took speed, mobility, and deception to a whole new level. His famous maneuver warfare meant that he rarely fought fair. Instead of just marching his troops in a straight line, like some 18th century Call of Duty lobby, he hit enemies from unexpected angles, attacking supply lines and forced his opponents into bad positions before they even knew where they were. In fact, a lot of what Napoleon did can be compared to Sun Tzu. However, it is unlikely that Napoleon would even know who Sun Tzu was. Napoleon continued winning battle after battle, and in 1799 he overthrew the French government in the coup of 18 Brumaire. Apologies for my French accent, it's terrible. Napoleon declared himself the first consul, and nobody objected as he had an army and he wasn't afraid to use it. Okay, let's see how smart you are. Where does the first consul title come from? Leave a comment. In 1804, Napoleon went a step further, declaring himself the emperor. Perhaps Napoleon's greatest military accomplishment comes from the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. The Russians and the Austrians had more troops and better positions. Napoleon, however, he faked weakness, luring them into an overconfident attack and smashing them so hard that they probably still feel it in their national consciousness. Napoleon's ability to read the battlefield was second to none. That's not luck, that's raw skill. But let's be honest, Napoleon wasn't perfect and can sometimes be lucky. During the Battle of Marengo in 1800, Napoleon was getting his ass handed to him. Now, it was pure luck that won the battle, as reinforcements just happened to arrive in the nick of time. Napoleon, however, knowing that history is written by the victor, documented the battle as if that was his plan the entire time, despite the fact that no contemporary sources agree with him. But what goes up must come down. This applies no matter how short you are. Sorry, Napoleon. But in 1812, Napoleon had got a little bit too big for his boots and did what every delusional narcissistic commander does. He invaded Russia. Seriously, when will people learn you can't take Russia? It's too big and it's too cold. The Russian winter, scorched earth tactics and logistical nightmares purged the French army. The French army began with 600,000 men, and by the end only 100,000 made it back. 5 out of every 6 men died on the Russian campaign. Napoleon's critics will argue that this is the reason he was overrated. He might have been good at battlefield tactics, but as an overall military commander he lacked the perspicacity needed to plan a strategic campaign. In addition to this, there is the famous Waterloo. In 1815, Napoleon was defeated by the Duke of Wellington. Napoleon underestimated the British forces and was overconfident. He failed to adopt his tactics and was still using a Roman-style column formation. Now, the Duke of Wellington, who in my opinion was a significantly better commander, used thin lines, making it more difficult for the enemy to shoot them. Napoleon relied heavily on mass charges from his men, which took a lot of bravery from the men. The British, however, under Wellington were a lot more disciplined and fired in disciplined volleys. In addition to tactical inferiority, Wellington emphasised that his soldiers were trained to a standard where they could fire 3 shots per minute. Most French soldiers could only fire 2. It would appear that Napoleon's luck had finally run out. So, was Napoleon a genius or was he just lucky? It's hard to say. Napoleon was a very good military commander, it has to be said. His tactics were pivotal in overthrowing the French government against all odds. Napoleon also went on to conquer a huge empire in Europe. However, it's really difficult to say that he wasn't capable of making some colossal errors, such as invading Russia for some bizarre reason and getting your ass handed to you by the greatest country ever is another indication of his inability to adapt. His strategies were ahead of their time and he was a master of adapting to situations, but he also had plenty of lucky breaks and wasn't afraid to rewrite history to make himself look smarter than he actually was. The problem was that Napoleon's ego eventually outgrew his talent. He thought he was untouchable and that led to his downfall. If he'd have been a little bit more cautious and less obsessed with conquering the world, who knows what might have happened. Maybe he'd have retired in Paris instead of being exiled to a rock in the middle of the ocean twice. So, what do you think? Was Napoleon a true military genius or was he just riding an incredibly lucky streak until reality caught up to him? Let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a great day.